The Detroit Pistons haven't been to the playoffs since they lost in the first round back in 2019. But after this year's draft, things may just be heading in the right direction. They will most likely have the #1 pick. And while we all know that they're going to choose Victor Wembanyama, let's at least talk about a few other prospects that do have star potential. But first, let's go over the Pistons' current roster, starting with Cade Cunningham. Cade missed some time at the start of his rookie year due to an issue with his ankle and has only played 76 career games. Not only that, but he's also struggled to score efficiently. He's shooting just 41.6% from the field and 30.9% from three. On the bright side, there may have been some good signs that this is improving though. In 12 games this season, he averaged 19.9 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 6 assists, and had a good chance to become the 8th second-year player in league history to have at least 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists per game. Plus, he's shown improvement as a playmaker and was starting to figure out how to use his size to his advantage. But honestly, it's kinda hard to guess just how good he'll be next season. And fortunately for him, he's been cleared for off-season activity, and he already looks to be in pretty good physical shape. We all know he's an intelligent player, and that's not surprising because he was picking the brains of one of the best scorers in Detroit Pistons history, Grant Hill. He's just about his business, and being around him, picking his brain, and just having him check in was really cool for me, and he was around a bunch. He was in Orlando when I was at Mount Verde Academy, so I would see him a lot in high school. So it's crazy that I'm in Detroit now and life comes full circle. But yeah, definitely, I was super excited to talk to him then, and now I'm more excited that I'll be able to speak with him a lot more in the future. Cunningham's return is going to be crucial for the Pistons' success. And on the defensive end, he's a solid defender with good size, so we like his potential. When it comes to Jayden Ivey, he's exceeded all expectations. He wasn't talked about nearly as much as other rookies like Banchero, Mathurin, Kessler, and Jalen Williams, but he was just as impressive in many ways. The shock was how good of a playmaker he was. When Cade went out with his injury, Ivey had to take on that role, and he led all rookies in assists with 5 per game. He only averaged 3 assists in college and really wasn't known as a facilitator. He showed flashes, but no one thought he would lead all rookies in assists. However, he's always shown the ability to throw beautiful, flashy passes, but he often struggled in the half-court setting when it came to setting up an offense and slowing things down. But this season, even despite some growing pains, he showed a solid ability to drive and kick, and with his speed, that puts a lot of pressure on defenses. His passing along with Cade's could really be a problem next year in the best way possible. As a scorer, while he still struggles from 3, he can get downhill at a pretty good rate, and as he polishes his handles, he'll become even more effective at getting to the rim. He also shows flashes of a short mid-range shot, so if he can increase both his volume and efficiency when getting inside, there is no reason he can't get 19 to 20 points per game next season, which would be even more likely if he improved from 3 and the free throw line. On the defensive end, he has all of the physical tools and measurements, but what needs work is his defensive IQ and ability to understand assignments and remain disciplined. But these are things most younger players also deal with. So as long as he addresses some of these defensive lapses and gets some good coaching, he'll be fine. Next, we have Jalen Duren, who's looking like a very solid two-way versatile big. He definitely should have been in the starting lineup though, because no offense to James Wiseman or Marvin Bagley, but Duren is a better rebounder, shot blocker, perimeter defender, and passer than them. And he only plays about 24 minutes per night, but with his potential, he should have been playing at least 30 like Ivey was. And what's also interesting about him not being in the starting lineup is the Pistons are said to be going for a defensive identity. So that again brings up the question on why he isn't out there for longer periods. And since we mentioned Wiseman and Bagley, let's talk about them as well. This season they put up solid numbers, but honestly, we think that they'll really benefit from an extra playmaker like Cade Cunningham. They're going to have a lot of potential points in the pick and roll as well as lobs. They're young, with solid potential, so it'll be a very interesting year for those two next season. As for Isaiah Stewart, he's a really good rebounder and has a lot of defensive ability. So overall, they're pretty stacked in terms of big men. And there you have it, a young core of Cunningham, Ivey, Duren, Wiseman, Bagley, and Stewart looks very promising. But they could potentially find their missing puzzle piece in this year's draft. such as Brandon Miller from Alabama. Brandon Miller is a 6'8" wing who's actually one of the most versatile all-around players in this year's draft. But what's most intriguing about him is his shooting ability, especially since the Pistons were 21st in three-point shooting this season. Miller shot 39% on catch-and-shoot threes and 48% on unguarded threes, so drafting him would instantly be beneficial in that department. And with Cade being an excellent floor general, Miller would get as many catch-and-shoot opportunities as possible. But he also showed potential as a shooter coming off of pin downs and dribble handoffs, as well as acting as the trail man knocking down transition threes. As an overall scorer and shot creator, he's shown promise there too. He wasn't all that efficient, but all of the pieces are definitely there. He's fluid, has a good handle, and he effectively uses screens. He would just be a really good fit inside the Pistons offense. And the Pistons really need that extra scorer. While Cade and Ivey can put the ball in the basket, that won't be enough, and that's where Miller could thrive as a third option. And who knows, he might even grow into the second or even first option over time. As a playmaker, he's definitely above average, and he sort of reminds us of Brandon Ingram in this category. Ingram was always a good passer, but it was never really talked about, and still isn't, even though he averaged almost 6 assists per game. Brandon Miller has a great feel for the game, and he's made many advanced passing reads that were really impressive. He can throw great passes when stationary or off the dribble, and with the Pistons being 26 in assists this year, they definitely could use a passer like Miller. On defense, while he may not be a lockdown defender, we highly doubt he'll be a defensive liability. He has good length and mobility, and in the right system, he could be a better defender than expected. Up next, we have Scoot Henderson, and yes, we know he's a 6'3" guard and the Pistons have enough guards, but drafting him still wouldn't really be a bad idea. Just ask the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have Josh Giddey, SGA, and Lou Dort, who's 6'3", filling out their guard and small forward spot. And while that's mostly possible because Dort is such a strong and versatile defender, we think it could still possibly work out in Detroit as well. But unless Henderson becomes a lockdown defender, it's kind of a toss-up. But now, of course, we have to discuss the obvious best fit and guaranteed #1 pick, Victor Wembanyama. If they draft this 7'2" monster and he's able to stay healthy, the future in Detroit will be extremely bright. We're not trying to overhype or exaggerate Victor's potential impact, but when you watch the kid play, it's almost impossible for his game to not effectively translate to the NBA. And we're not saying he's going to average 30 and 10 and lead the Pistons to the finals in year one, but he is absolutely made for the modern NBA. On the offensive end, he can really stretch the floor, and we all know how deadly big men who can shoot are. Just ask Lauri Markkanen, who is one of the best three-point shooters this year, shooting nearly 40% on 7.7 attempts per game. But the most accurate comparison for Wembanyama, in our opinion at least, is Kristaps Porzingis. The 7'3" unicorn has been secretly putting up all-star numbers in Washington, averaging 23 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1.5 blocks while shooting 49% from the field and 38% from 3 on 5.5 attempts per game. Kristaps really is the total package on both ends of the floor. And this is exactly what Victor could be. With Ivey and Cunningham as his facilitators, we're sure Victor will average at least 6 points off of lobs from those two alone. But he can create some offense for himself as well, although that part of his game may be a struggle against NBA-level defenders in year one. But if he shoots decent, makes a decent percentage of free throws, is efficient at the basket, and runs out in transition, we could definitely see him average 15 points per game with 7 or so rebounds and a couple assists. Not bad for a rookie. Also, a potential Jalen Duren and Victor Wembanyama frontcourt could be amazing defensively. We all know Victor is a great shot blocker. He has elite timing along with that enormous, nearly 8-foot wingspan. And it doesn't stop there because he showed potential of being a pretty good drop coverage defender as well, which is essential nowadays for starting centers. For example, Jaren Jackson Jr., Evan Mobley, Anthony Davis, and Nick Claxton are all excellent drop coverage defenders because not only are they long, but they have freakish athleticism and mobility, which helps them cover ground if they're beaten off the dribble. And Jalen Duren has that same ability. So as long as the Pistons pick up a good perimeter defender, their defense could see a lot of success next season. Really, when it comes down to it, no matter which prospect they draft, it's really gonna help the rebuilding Pistons. But what do you think? Which prospect would fit the Pistons the best? Let us know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.